There are few necessities quite as important as food. And if you haven't noticed, food is getting more expensive every single year. Hello, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist with the Toronto Sun. Food inflation is still a very real issue. Core inflation may be pretty much under control, but not food inflation. And that means you are going to be paying more for your supper each and every day over the coming year. Dr. Sylvain Charlebois is one of the lead authors of Canada's Food Price Report that came out last week. Joins me now to talk about this. And Sylvain, it's worrisome. Let's get right to the number that everyone's talking about. It's over $1,700 for the average grocery bill. What's that for? Give us details.
Yeah, for a family of four, the food bill in 2026 should be at around $17,500. So that's an extra $1,000. If you are to buy the ideal food basket, compared to last year, it's an extra $1,000. It's the highest increase that we've predicted. It's our 16th year, so we're starting to become good at it, really, because we've in 15 years, I think we missed the mark twice. And but I know that the number is startling. So it's 4 to 6%. The drivers, meat again. Meat was a problem in 2025. It will still be a problem in 2026 because of beef prices. People are starting to pivot towards chicken and pork, and we're expecting those two other components to become more expensive. The
If
other
everyone starts buying them instead of beef, yeah, they're going to push up the price. But take us back a few years. Before food inflation went crazy, how much more expensive is it compared to 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's an extra 27% compared to 2020. So 5 years ago. So we're paying 27% more for food compared to 2020. So we're likely to surpass 30% in 6 years in 2026. So that's quite a bit. The other category pushing food inflation higher for 2026 will be the center of the store, so the pantry goods, and so that includes a lot of stuff, including coffee, tea, dried pasta, sauces, nuts, kinds of the products. They're actually going to be more expensive in 2026. So, and the other one is vegetables. We were spared in 2025. Produce was actually not bad. Fruits and vegetables didn't go up in price despite the Buy Canadian / anti-American movement. We did okay, but in 2026, vegetables are likely to increase by as much as 5%.
Food inflation started to go crazy. I remember writing a column for The Sun where I just detailed all the things I'd learned from my mother on how to keep your grocery bill down, and including buying the sales. What's for dinner? Well, what's on sale in the flyer?
Exactly.
What's the special today at the store? Shopping around the outside as opposed to the middle area that you were just talking about. And, but Sylvain, we're 4 years down the road from when it really started to take off. And while those recommendations in the column, I would still stand by them. They'll make your food basket cheaper than it would be otherwise. Even if you are the most frugal, prudent shopper,
Mm.
everyone is noticing this.
Oh, absolutely. The thing to provide a positive spin to what's happening, I would say that right now we're in a different place. Consumers are in a different place compared to just 3, 4 years ago. When food inflation came violently into our lives a few years ago, especially in 2022, 2023, we weren't ready. I mean, we weren't. What I've noticed, what I did notice at the time is that people really didn't know much about prices in general. They had a vague idea of how much oranges cost, celery, beef, things like that. But now a lot more people are aware of prices. They do their homework before leaving their homes on their way to the grocery store. They look at flyers. They use loyalty programs. We're a better tool to deal with the 4-6% today compared to just a few years ago, but still, there's just no safe place in a grocery store anymore. I would say probably in 2026, the best places for you to save will be bakery, dairy, and frozen. Those are the three places where we're not expecting much movement when it comes to pricing.
You mentioned beef earlier, and I'm a big fan of beef. Made a big pot of chili last night because, well, it's cold out. Had some ground beef. All right, let's make something cozy. But the other day, I'm in the grocery store, and I thought, it'd be great on Sunday. Make a nice roast. The price of roast beef is astronomical, and the closest I could find to something where I didn't balk at the price was just down the refrigeration unit was Australian beef. We've talked about this before, but it was significantly cheaper. I could get a Australian grade beef roast. Well, not sure what that means on the label. It's not, I don't know that as well as Canadian double A, triple A prime. But tell us again about why beef prices have gone so high and why we're bringing in this stuff from Australia that is cheaper than what they're paying for it in Australia.
Yeah. The catalyst was a major drought affecting the entire continent just 18 months ago when feed costs went up. And when that happens, typically ranchers sell off their herds prematurely. It happened in 2014, but in 2014, ranchers actually bought cattle back and replenished their herds. It's not happening this time for a couple of reasons. One, uh, well, ranchers are old and they're cashing out. So, and I'm not blaming them because it's been tough for them, especially with Macau 20 years ago. So they want out and they're cashing out. The other issue is the economy. We often talk about Trump's regime as being unpredictable. Well, that unpredictability is impacting consumer perception and the ability for the food industry to provide premium products. Beef is a premium product. You want a strong economy. You want a predictable economy, and so right now beef prices are way up in both Canada and the U.S. as a result of that uncertainty.
You mentioned premium products, but when I do go to the store now, I notice that it's not even premium cuts. And that's not going to No Frills. That's going to you go to the higher end grocery stores as well. You're not seeing the premium cuts. If you go to a whole chicken, you're seeing a lower grade of chicken. Uh, and I understand that the grocers are trying to meet the consumer where they are, which is deal with the sticker shock. And if they put those premium products out there, they'd be even higher.
Yeah, meet the consumer. I see what you did there. But I would say one thing though, there is a contrast between the US and Canada. What's really interesting is that beef prices have gone up way more in Canada than in the US. And I believe it's because of the governance of the beef sector in general. We have a packing sector controlled by two foreign-owned, privately owned company, GBS and Cargill. In the U.S., President Trump is going after packers, started an investigation, and of course, he's allowing way more beef coming into the market in the United States from Argentina and Brazil, while in Canada, Ottawa has been just like awkwardly quiet about beef prices. And if you want to be popular as a government, one would think you will want to use beef prices as a reason to make your government real and responsive and accountable. But it's not happening at all, and I do wonder why. And there is a committee in Ottawa looking at beef imports. It existed. It has been in existence for quite some time. They haven't met in 10 years. The last time we went through the beef crisis in 2014, 2015, they were meeting on a regular basis, but they haven't met since 2015 looking at imports to actually ease the pressure on prices, beef prices domestically. So I do question the inertia coming from Ottawa at this point for sure when it comes to beef prices.
I mean, the reaction that we've seen is to effectively beat up on grocers and say that they're price gouging and it's Loblaw and it's Metro and
That's
it's
the easiest
Sobeys
thing.
and
That's
that.
as long as we focus on temporary cyclical reasons to justify our prices, like greedinflation, pointing fingers at grocers, we'll always avoid this simple yet complex truth is that our food inflation problem is structural. There's no other way to
Explain
look
that.
at it, because really, when you go back in time, our problem started really in 2008 during the financial crisis. That's when you start to see this decoupling between food inflation and inflation. Canada never really recovered since 2008. So it started under the Harper years, but the Liberals since 2015 made things much, much worse. While in the US, when you look at the US's food inflation rate versus inflation, both lines follow each other. Why? Because the American economy is has the ability to absorb global shocks. We're incapable of absorbing global shocks because of our structural issues. And when I
So
mean
what are the
what
structural issues driving food inflation then? Give us a couple. I mean,
there's a
mm,
long list.
yeah,
There's a
you don't
long
need a
list.
deep dive, but what are the top ones?
Logistics, bad logistics, supply management, carbon pricing, interprovincial trade barriers. Do you want me to go on?
Well, I mean,
Taxing,
you mentioned the
fiscal
carbon
policies.
price and of course the consumer carbon tax
The
is gone
GST
now.
holiday was the worst idea in the world. Why? Because it opened up it happened this year. It fueled inflation. Brian, we started the year with a food inflation rate of minus 0.6%. Minus points. We're ending the year at 3.8%. Why? Because the GST holiday just fueled it, opened up the door
How?
to opportunistic pricing. As soon as you eliminate a tax temporarily, guess what's going to happen to prices? They're going to go up. That's exactly what happened in April and May.
So they had that GST holiday on things like if you bought the rotisserie chicken at your local grocery store, you weren't paying the GST, but the price went up.
The price went up without you noticing. Same at restaurants, and I try to explain that with David Dodge when I testified a year ago, actually at Senate in Ottawa, explaining this is dangerous policy. If you want to do something good, just eliminate the GST altogether forever. A temporary holiday was even worse than doing nothing.
You mentioned the carbon tax though,
Yep.
and of course the when the consumer carbon tax was still there, the Trudeau government said, "Oh well, it doesn't contribute." The Bank of Canada said it didn't contribute. You actually did the work to say, okay, what are you
Published two
basing that
papers.
on?
Yeah.
And it turns out, well, they weren't actually measuring it, so they couldn't say. But you found that it did increase food prices. Wasn't the only thing, but it did contribute. Um, the Conservatives are now saying that the Liberals are still taxing food because of the industrial carbon tax, because of other factors that are going into pressures on the economy. Do you buy into that still? Does their argument make sense? Because they point to taxes on farmers and they say that will drive up the cost of food. And the Liberals say, don't be silly. We never tax food. Where's the truth?
The more you add transactions to the picture, the more likely you'll push prices higher. The cost to operate anything will go up. And so the compounding effect of all these policies, including carbon pricing, and I have to add packaging now. And of course, the Liberals are saying it's not a tax. Well, it sort of is, because you're adding more costs to the system. Someone has to pay for all these costs, and that ends up being the consumer. So we have an unproductive system. The other issue that we have in Canada, we actually just published a report with MNP, a well-known consulting firm out of Winnipeg, looking at ag policy, is that in Canada, in manufacturing, and you need a strong manufacturing sector to support your farmers and innovate to grow the economy. The problem that we have in food manufacturing is that we have these large multinationals, which have invested in Canada over the years, and we have the small mom and pop processors, but in between we have the unscalable middle. So there's a lot of companies that are unable to scale up because of all of these barriers, these policies that are preventing these companies to grow even more. And I went through the list of reasons just a few minutes ago. And this is really the big problem. And if we are able to scale up the middle in manufacturing, you're giving the food industry in Canada the ability to absorb these global shocks and see somewhat what we're seeing right now in the US, where you have inflation and food inflation moving in lockstep. That's not what's happening in Canada.
Well, there's a new regulation that comes into effect next year that will impact the price of some food materials. And you write about that in the report. The Once you get above a certain level of sodium or sugar, it's got to be front of label packaging. I mean, that nutritional information is already there, but you have to turn to the side of the box or the back of the package to look at it. Government said, "Oh, that's not good enough. You got to put it on the front." And a lot of folks might think, well, that doesn't cost anything. That doesn't make a difference. You've got to redesign all your packaging. You've got to have someone in compliance looking after this to make sure that it's done correctly. All these things add on costs, and a lot of people don't think about that and just say, "Yeah, but it's a good thing. It's for a good cause." Okay, but there is a cost.
Yeah, no, it's true. There is a cost, but I would say respectfully, Brian, I actually agree with the front of package labeling policy. I think it's actually good policy, and let me explain to you why. You're basically creating a level playing field. If you remember a few years ago, Campbell's, which had a plant in Etobicoke at the time, started a campaign, a no sodium campaign. I'm not sure if you recall, they were ads all over the place. And what happened is that sales just dropped at Campbell's as soon as they took away sodium, because Canadians are addicted to sodium, and people just pivoted and went to the competition. Well, with a level playing field, everyone basically following the same rules, I would say that food will taste a little different, but it will be the same for everyone. If you want your label, what I've seen the last 3 years, Brian, are many companies reformulating and offering Canadians healthier products, and frankly, that's what we need. And the center of the store is being attacked right now with this ultra processed food campaign, which is to me ridiculous. But they do have a point in that there's a lot of products that do have added sugar, too much sodium, too much fat, but
And
this
ours are better than the United States, and they're about to get a lot of reformulations because of what the Trump administration, and specifically Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is
Yeah, with
doing.
the Maha movement, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
but the Maha movement will impact Canada for sure. I mean, there's no doubt, even without any policy in Canada, because you can't. I mean, both economies are highly integrated, and so
but they're
eventually
often
it will
looking to
impact us.
they're often looking to the same product and our formulation. And RFK has said, why are there fewer ingredients in Canada on this product than there are in the United States? So that was surprising for me. Um, what else do we need to look out for over the coming years as we try and manage the food budget, and deal with this $1,000 increase to the
Yep.
average grocery cart?
Well, the sector we haven't talked about yet, Brian, is food service. We're expecting a pretty big hike of 4 to 6% in the restaurant industry. And that's one of the few categories we've never been wrong, by the way, in 15 years. So we're pretty confident with that one. And the reason why menu prices are going to rise is that people are drinking less. I mean, if you look at all liquor boards in the country, sales in volume are down 3-4%. SAQ, LCBO, NSLC in our home province. I mean, everyone's reporting sales dropping because people are drinking less, and restaurant operators will need to make money. And the only way to do that is to revise menu prices. So we're expecting, because of food prices, we're expecting people to stay home, and because of menu prices, people maybe actually be pushed to stay home a little bit more, which is, in essence, maybe not a bad thing, but we are not expecting the food service industry to have a really strong year next year, unfortunately.
Right. Sylvain, it's always great talking to you. We could chat for hours about food and food policy and where things are going, but thanks for the time today. We'll leave it to the audience. Drop your comments, drop your suggestions for managing your food budget in the comments below. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel.